computer. Okay, and I'm going to share my screen. And here we go. Okay, spiritual healing. Such an amazing, amazing thing. Pretty unbelievable. I'm going to teach you the program that is encapsulated in this book in one of the chapters called My Healing Program. I may have expanded on it a little or changed it a little, but it can be found in this book. I want to see if there's anyone trying to get in. I felt it. Thank goodness for those psychic abilities. Okay, all right, good. Okay, I'm letting the last people in. Joining. Hello, everyone who just arrived. You're all very welcome here. We were just about to get started. So we're going to go back to sharing the screen. Okay, here we go. Okay, I may have to do that again if it says one more. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. I guess that's the reason why you need to have a host, because if you're sharing the screen, you can't see if someone wants to get into your room. I think we're fine. Okay, here we go. Share screen. So, spiritual healing. I want to teach you the self-healing program that I use every day, sometimes more than once a day if I need it. It was made up by me.
Full of learning, so sana po marami tayong matutunan at sana makatulong po ito sa ating paggamit ng Google.
Whoever did that, I'm thinking, how do I mute everyone? So thank you, whoever muted themselves. I appreciate that. Okay, so I'm going to teach you the self-healing program that I use every day. It was created by me as a combination of things I learned from some of the best teachers I've met along my path, which is a 50-year path now since I started when I was 20 and I just turned 70. So my influences, as I think some of you may have read in an email, were very much Harry Edwards, my healer, Jane Roberts and Seth, who taught me a lot about our own belief systems and how we think and how we get tangled up sometimes in our own negativity and how to reconstruct that, which will be not today's session, that's in a month. And Ram Dass, who I'm sure many of you have heard of, Baba Ram Dass, he recently passed. The actual meditation technique that we'll learn today, I learned from a workshop with him. I've tried many different types of meditation, from transcendental meditation, which uses a mantra, to focusing on a candle, crystal. This is the one I find that most effective because it gives you a physical feeling to concentrate on as well as just a sound. So for me, I put together a program of all the things I've learned over the years that worked very well for me. And eventually one step led to the next. And so that's what I propose to lay out for you guys. Then we will do it. We will do the guided visualization together. And then if anyone wants, I can email them the MP3 of that, which I made. So you can practice with it rather than on your own. And that's up to you. If when we do it, you hate it, you won't want to ask me for it. So just before we go one more step, there's two people I think trying to get in. I better stop the share. Oh, there's one person. Okay, good, glad I got her. Okay, Marilyn's in now. Okay, I think.
Hi, Sheri.
Hi, everybody. Okay, we're going to attempt to get started again. Share screen. Okay, so the healing program has 5 steps. We have working prayer. We have the meditation, which is, you'll see, will be about breath. We will work with what I learned from Harry Edwards, having to do with visualizing and adding that to the breath and receiving an energy and directing it. This will be covered today. Then next month when we meet, we will start working with beliefs. Although you may, if you want, get yourself a notebook or a journal and start jotting things down. You'll see when we do the exercise how things will come up. And we're not going to really work on that till next month. But if you want to go a little further, you can get a little journal. What we work on is the discovery of what beliefs are possibly holding us back or hanging us up, and then recovery. How do we change those downloads? How do we take out certain downloads that are really obstacles in our lighting in the light, or obstacles in our happiness. Stopping share. There's people waiting to get in. Okay. How do we stop certain negative beliefs from having too much power over us? How do we work with the recovery? So that will probably take the whole. There's many steps to it. It will probably take up a good deal of what we will do next month. But for this month, we have plenty to get started with. I'm sorry, I just keep going back to letting people in. I'm going to have to hire somebody, but somebody's going to have to. Okay, so the very last one we're going to work with will be dealing with these really deep-seated emotions. And I know that, you all have days, I think we all have days where you're just, stuff's built up, and it's almost like a humid day, like it just won't rain, and you just feel so, like you almost can't feel. You're built up inside. It's like a deep-seated emotion that's really disturbing you. And I found a way of working with something which in Buddhist practice is called Tonglen, and it has to do with breathing in the darkness and letting out the light. But I heard about that and I said, never breathing in the darkness. But I understood that it was my own, that when you're feeling your own darkness and you just can't break through, I found a way to breathe into it and actually experience it and then kind of give it up and let it go. So we'll work with the deep-seated emotions at the very end. But starting out today, we're going to start out with the first few steps of this 5-step program. And so the first step is that before I even start the meditating and the breathing, I just state my intention, which is to be an instrument for good. And the next step is that I acknowledge the presence of the divine. Literally remind myself, because it's so easy to forget, that the divine is closer to us, closer to you than breathing, as close to you as inside your chest. So in a sense, right there where you are, God is, however you call God, however you look at it, that energy, wherever you are, it is. There's a piece of it inside of you. And so before I start, I just humbly ask God, my guides, my helpers in spirit, to be with me, to bless me. And I will pass on this prayer of protection. I use it a lot, maybe because through EVP, I realize that when you open a channel, you open a channel. And you may not always like who jumps in. And I was not as observant of stuff like this. I was very cocky. I have a son in spirit and Harry Edwards is in spirit. I'm just going to open this line and devil may care. And he certainly did, because a few pretty nasty guys started getting on the line. So I started learning about what's called psychic attack and ways to protect yourself. And I found this prayer really worked for me. It's very powerful. You can copy it, or I can always send it to you. It says, by the power of the divine inside me, whom I serve, with all my heart, with all my soul, and with all my might, I encompass myself about in a circle of light and divine love, through which only good can penetrate. Now you can change those words. It's just the concept that you're going to set up a protective light around you. And because of the reason we partly do that is because we're not necessarily just working with our own good desires. We are going to look to bring in light and open up channels. Mr. Edwards worked with what he called spirit doctors. And although he never defined or said who he worked with, although he was often asked, mediums had done sketches of who they felt his spirit doctors were. And they said one was Louis Pasteur and one was the late Lord Lister. And it's spiritual hearsay as far as I know. But the point I'm trying to make is that we are all really closely surrounded by beings in spirit. And so it is important that we just be mindful that we're going to be opening up spiritual channels. We want to open up only to that which is of the highest, greatest good. So a prayer for protection is always a good thing. And once I've done the prayer for protection, I go into this technique. It's called the gatekeeper. And a friend of mine once drew this for me, just to kind of give the idea. You start by finding a comfortable place where you can remove yourself from distractions. You can sit or you can lie down. Sometimes I find lying down really lovely. So,
Yeah.
there's all this talk about, I know in certain circles you've got to be in yogic posture. I My feeling is do what's comfortable, what will allow you to do the work. I don't
Yeah.
feel that we need to be yogis,
Mine
and
too.
we just need to make it adapt it so it works for us. So if you've got a bad back and there's a pillow that helps you, make yourself comfortable. Then you focus all your attention at the tip of your nose. And you imagine that you are the gatekeepers, the gatekeeper at the gates of a big city. And that it's your very important job and almost only job to watch the coming and going of your breath. And so you will breathe in through your nose. And as you do, you will feel cool air entering at the tip of your nostrils. And as you exhale through your nose, you're going to feel the warm air that comes from inside your body as it exits through your nostrils. So now you not only have breathing, but you are focusing your attention here at the tip of your nostril. And if you do, you will feel cool air as you breathe in. And it's a little harder sometimes to feel the warm air, but you'll feel warm air as you breathe out. And so it gives you not only the breath, but a feeling, an actual physical feeling. And so what happens is that at some point, you're going to realize that you've completely lost, it's breathing in cool, breathing out warm, breathing in cool, breathing out warm, in cool, out warm, in cool, out warm. And then all of a sudden you realize you can't feel your breath anymore. And of course, that'll be because your mind has wandered, which is, of course, what always happens when we meditate, because the thinking mind thinks. It's actually called monkey mind. And it's called monkey mind because if any of you, when you start meditating and trying to be quiet, monkey mind is going to seize every opportunity to draw your attention away from breath. And they call it monkey mind because the thoughts kind of swing like from one branch to another, like, oh my God, did I remember to give the dog water? Oh, I have to call the vet. The vet got her hair done. She looked really good. And we just go and we get lost in this, what Stephen Levine used to call the underdream, just thoughts and thoughts and thoughts. At this point in the meditation, all that I want you to do is what we call training the puppy. When you realize that you can't feel your breath anymore, you gently lead your mind back to the tip. It's called training the puppy. You don't kick the puppy. You don't rub its nose in the poop. You just go, okay, you're a puppy. And you gently lead yourself back to your breath. Now, I will tell you, when I first started doing this, I could maybe do 2 breaths before I was thinking about what I had to do or where I had to go. And I'd say to myself, what is the point of this? All I'm doing is breathing and then going back to breath, like breathing and then daydreaming and then going back to breath. But then I realized some very interesting things happened every time I caught myself thinking and took myself back to breath. And the first one is you realize you're not your thoughts, that you are the greater awareness in which all these thoughts take place. But if you can look at them objectively, they cannot be you. And it's a really important distinction because people get so caught up in thinking how important their point of view is, or that they are what they think. And no, you're a consciousness that these thoughts are flowing through. The other thing is it's called cultivating the witness. You become the witness to your thoughts in a way that maybe we never were before. Because usually if you have a thought like, oh, that person wasn't nice to me, you might just react by getting angry. You don't look at the thought. We have a thought, bam, the elevator goes up to the penthouse and we're reacting. When this happens and you're doing your meditation, you will witness that thought. And I'll tell you, sometimes we see some pretty, as one meditation One meditation teacher once said, meditation is just like one insult after another, because every time he went back to breath, he saw he was either thinking about what he didn't do right, what he had to do differently, what he didn't get done. And so that's why I say, if you want to at this point, when you do your meditations, keep a little notebook. What can be helpful is, as you're going back to breath, this is going to be part of next month's work. You don't need to do it yet, but you may want to get a jump in it. If when you're going back to breath, you see that you were thinking about something you weren't satisfied with or something about yourself you didn't like, you just jot it down. Eventually, we're going to work with all that to see the habitual kind of thought patterns we hold, that some may be very positive and keep us going, and others may be dragging us down, but that's for next month. But right now, I want you to just get the experience of realizing that you've lost your breath. You're not gently bringing yourself back to it. And if you can, take a quick look at what you were thinking. And then often I'll say to myself, thank you for sharing, Sheri, but right now I'm just breathing. And that's also telling my thinking mind, it's my choice. I have the control here. I don't want to sit and go over what so-and-so said to so-and-so. I don't have to. And so that's the first part of the meditation that you're going to do today and learn. Just focus, doing the gatekeeper, feeling the breath as it enters and leaves you, and bringing yourself back to the breath when you've been dragged off by your thoughts, just bringing yourself back to breath and staying on the breath. And it may not feel like it's doing anything, especially in the beginning. You really do wonder, what in the world are you achieving? But after a while, you begin to see that you are not your thoughts, and they are things that run through you, and it gives you a tremendous amount of control. I don't know why someone is trying to reach me, but this is not good. Just try to turn this off. But anyway, because you see, until you can witness your thoughts, until you can see those things that you may be, that downloads that you may have accepted about yourself that aren't necessarily true, but you've come to believe them and they limit you. Until you see them, they're just obstacles that you trip over and stumble over. So even though you may not think what's happening when you're going back to breath, you are putting space between yourself and the thinking mind. Every time you say, thanks for sharing, but right now I'm breathing, you're distancing yourself from the thinking mind, and you are asserting your power to say, right now I'm just going to focus on breath. And it becomes a powerful control over your mind. Now we go into the next step in the healing program. And this is something I learned from Mr. Edwards. He called it characterized breathing. I changed the name to focus breathing because nobody knows what characterized breathing means. But the whole point that he said was that it was deep breathing plus X, and X was the visualization. He said that when you would combine your breath with your visualization, you would make it far more powerful, and far more likely to be able to really draw energy into you. And so we start in the same way. You find your comfortable place, you remove yourself from distractions, and you start using the gatekeeper. So you're feeling the cool air, you're feeling the warm air. Once you get that feeling of the cool and the warm air, we bring in a visualization. So as we're inhaling now, we envision drawing streams of healing energy into you. I literally envision this light and healing energy entering into me as I inhale. As I exhale, I envision sending this energy through my body. And so the inhale is always for drawing energy into you. The exhale can be used in a lot of different ways. Sometimes I'll say on the exhale, I'm cleansing my body. Mostly on the exhale, I will be sending that energy into my body, but you can use it to release tension. You can direct it to your hands. Here's a few images. it's as if you start out here, you're breathing, you're drawing this energy into you, and then you can direct it down into your hands. It's all done through the mind. And remember, in the spirit realms, thought and light are all powerful. The stuff of earth doesn't mean as much to them, because they create what they need in thought. And so we're working with that kind of energy. So your thoughts are more powerful than you may realize. So now you're breathing in this energy, and you can direct it through your body, right to your hands. You can use your mind to direct it to any part of your body that you wish. Many people, of course, love to talk about the energy centers, which are called the chakras. Mr. Edwards' theory was always keep it simple. Energy is energy. You didn't need to have step A to step B, but it can be very cleansing. These are energy centers. You can draw in healing energy into you, and on the exhale, you can envision directing it to your crown chakra, your third eye, your throat chakra, heart chakra. This is your solar plexus, your abdomen, and the root chakras. These are energy centers that many people feel directing light directly to them is a really wonderful way to boost your energy. So these are really all options, any way you want to direct it. But understand that when you visualize something and you're doing it with the breath, you have a really good team there to bring things about. Mr. Edwards used to say that you could literally derive energy if you were up by the pine trees, or up in nature where there was a lot of green giving off a lot of ozone, like by the ocean. He says there's a lot of cosmic energy, and that's why people always say, oh, I was on the ocean at the beach and I had to take a deep breath. It just felt so good, because the ozone is there. He said, well, if you were cognizant that it was there and you were to envision drawing it in, the energy in, while breathing, it would double the effectiveness. So that's why we work with the visualization. And before we do the meditation, I want to tell you of an image that my spirit team had given me. And they said, look, explain to everybody that though they come from the light, and though you all have a piece of this in you, when you're born into physical reality, you feel often cut off from all this. And you sense it. Maybe you sense the light, and sometimes you get that overwhelming good feeling that yes, there's something wonderful. But for the most part, there are miles and miles of challenges in physical reality that we deal with every day, and we forget, just like a seed under the earth is waiting for the sun to bring back its light, to let it start coming through the earth again. It's almost a job that's why I call it self-healing. It's a job that we have to take on for ourselves. It's not something that anyone can do for us. The light exists. There's a piece of the light deep inside us, that's spirit. But we've had a lifetime, and probably many lifetimes, of challenges in which we feel cut off sometimes from this. Well, I think, I'm not going to say whose fault it is, but just to say it's in our hands to make that effort on a daily basis. You take 5 minutes in the morning, and if you can, 5 minutes at night, to try to do something like what we're going to do now. And so I want everybody to get comfortable and relax, because, does anyone have any questions before we do a meditation? Does anybody have anything they want to add or say or share? I don't think you're muted, so I think anyone can just shout out. I'm not exactly as classy as Wendy. Just shout it out. Okay, here we go. So, I'm glad somebody reacted, because I don't, it's funny on Zoom. But I'm going to play a meditation that I made that will employ all of these different steps, and we'll just do it together. It's about 15 minutes long. And then, as I said, if you want to have a copy of it that you can play to use to get yourself into a regular routine, I can always email it. So I hope the sound is right. If it isn't, I shall adjust. I would like everyone to relax. Make yourselves perfectly comfortable and let go of your cares and thoughts of the day, bringing your consciousness right here into the present moment. And firstly, I would like you to acknowledge the presence of the divine. Remind yourself that the divine is closer to you than breathing, as close to you as inside your chest. Right there, where you are, God is. And humbly ask God, your guides, angels, helpers, and spirit to be with you and to bless your practice. And now we will start with the first step of the guided meditation. I would like you to bring all your awareness, focus all your consciousness at the tip of your nose, and imagine that you are the gatekeeper at the gates of a big city, and that it is your very important job to watch the coming and going of your breath. And so with all your attention focused at the tip of your nose, I want you to breathe in now and feel the cool air as it enters. And as you exhale, feel the warm air as it leaves your nostrils. And again, breathing in, feeling the cool air, and breathing out, feeling the warm air. Try a few breaths on your own, please. Now, if your mind should wander, when you realize you've lost awareness of the breath, just gently bring your consciousness back to the tip of your nose and resume your position as gatekeeper, watching the coming and going of your breath. And so together now, breathing in cool, breathing out warm. In cool, out warm. Returning time and time again to the breath. As your mind wanders off, just acknowledge it and gently come back to the tip of your nose. On your own now, please. Breathing in cool, breathing out warm. Feel it. And when your mind wanders, just thank it for sharing. And make it clear that right now you're just breathing. And walk yourself back to the tip of your nose. And breathe, just breathe. In cool, feel the relaxation that everywhere pervades your being when you focus your mind on the breath. Later on in the program, we will work on those things that come up and distract you from breath. For now, I just want you to get the feeling of returning time and again to the breath. Breathing in, full. Breathing out, four. And now we're going to add the next step to this healing program. We're going to add visualization to our breathing. Mr. Harry Edwards always said that when you add visualization to the breath, you create a situation where you are able to absorb more energy and light into yourself. And so we will again return to the gatekeeper position with your awareness brought to the tip of your nose. But this time, as we inhale, we will envision drawing streams of healing energy into us. And as we exhale, we will envision that energy going through our own bodies. And so together now, inhale, drawing cool, clear, healing, white light into you. And as you exhale, envision that light going through your body, from your head right down through your body to your toes. And again, inhale, drawing light and healing into you. And exhaling, directing that light through your body, starting right up at your head and through your shoulders, right out to your fingertips, down through your torso, right down through your toes. And on your own now, please give it a try. Remember that in the realm of spirit, visualization, light, thought, these are all powerful. We are all part spirit now. We can activate this like a muscle. And so together, let us breathe in, drawing light and healing into us. And then seeing that light and healing energy going anywhere in our body where we wish to see it go. If you have a spot in your body that feels pain or discomfort, tightness, envision this light going right to that part of your body and see it in your mind's eye as you exhale, that energy going right where you need it. You can place your hands, if you wish, anywhere that you need the comfort. And if your heart hurts, place your hands on your heart. And breathe in now, envisioning light and healing energy entering it. And as you exhale, Direct that light wherever you wish to see it go. On your own now, please. Many find it helpful to direct that light to their chakra centers. The crown chakra up above your head, third eye chakra in your forehead, the throat chakra by your throat, and the heart chakra, solar plexus, the abdomen, and the root chakras, all lined up. Breathe this light into you and just see it running through those beautiful energy centers, restoring strength and healing. I would like you to think about the seed under the ground in the winter. How the seed is alive, yet dormant, and it waits patiently for the sun and the warmth to return to stimulate life and bring it back into its fullness. Well, we have that same seed, that kernel of spirit in each of us. But it is our job to put the time and effort into bringing that light in. It is there. The divine is present, and we acknowledge them, and we thank them for their presence. But then it is our job to partake of the light, to consciously bring this into ourselves. And so all I want you to work on for this first month is to get used to returning, be used to the feel of your breath as it enters and leaves you, and to visualize that breath as the light and healing energy so much needed by us all. So let us practice this again. Breathing in cool, light, healing energy, holding it inside ourselves, and then sending it throughout our body from head to toe. And again, breathe this light into you. Exhale and send this light throughout your entire physical being. See your body alive with light. And then take that light and circle yourself in it as you go about your days, protected and in the light. So on your own now, practice this one more time. Breathing in cool, breathing out warm. Once or twice a day, make a point of taking 5 minutes to separate yourself from your daily cares and breathe this light into you. Make it your own special healing time. It will serve you well. So that's the healing exercise. You may want to take a minute, just relax with it. I know with myself, I come out of them in better moods than I go into them. I use it if I can't fall asleep at night, because when you stop thinking for a while, if you're tired, you'll go right out. And so I can email anybody a copy who wants it. You'll just email me and say, I want it, and I will send it to you. But we just have a couple more things to talk about, and that's that everybody always talks about the immune system, that we have a spiritual immune system, not just a physical one. And we can raise that and build that in the same way that we build our physical one, and both are important components when it comes to healing. And so for spiritual, we have our meditation and our positive thinking, of course, but I highly recommend dance, music, and chanting. Music, I think it's why the shamans always did a lot of music and dancing before they would start their healings, and why when we sit with physical mediums in the dark, we're forced to sing for about 20 minutes first before the spirits will come through. Really, because it raises the vibration, and the higher the vibration, the brighter the light, the more potential for healing. Having fun. And I remember my teacher saying, I'm not going to use the word joy, because if I do, you guys will just turn it into something spiritual. I'm using fun purposely. A good laugh, a comedy, an evening with a good friend lifts the spiritual immune system. Giving to others, I'm sure all of you here have discovered that it lifts your heart when you do something for someone else. And of course, learning and keeping our minds stimulated in whatever ways that we can. These are all ways of keeping our spiritual immune system from getting discouraged, especially during things like lockdown. And thank God for Zoom. And of course, prayer, not forgetting that we are not alone. And if you come to prayer with humility, you can move mountains sometimes, not always. And of course, you all know in the physical immune system, we talk about our nutrition. Be sure you have good enough nutrition. If your nutrition's really low, vitamins, minerals, and supplements, especially as some of us are getting older, really, really helpful. Exercise, tailor it to your needs. Better to take a nice little slow walk around the park than not get on the bike. So tailor it to what works for you. Deep breathing, another reason why I include it, feel so strongly about it in the meditation, is that every cell in the body needs oxygen. And many of us don't breathe deeply and fully. We can live without water for a couple days, without food for maybe a couple weeks. We can live without air for maybe a few minutes before we're gone. We should never underestimate the cell's need for oxygen. So when you're doing this kind of meditation, you're also doing something physical for yourself. Yes, it's a spiritual act we're doing, but we're drawing oxygen into our cells. It's a really valuable step. And another thing I want to point out, especially with aches and pains, try to critique sometimes the causes. Sometimes posture, a position that you're sleeping in, can give you a stiff neck so bad that you can't turn your head. Try to look at the way you sit. Many of us sit putting the weight on the small of our back and then wonder why we have bad backs. I took yoga years ago from a cranial sacral therapy lady who would walk around with a little skeleton and show us the positions that our skeleton was falling into. And most of us are not often aware that we are creating a lot of our own problems in the ways that we sit, sleep, and hold ourselves. An accident or a former surgery can cause scar tissue and problems for people that maybe they can't even necessarily get rid of, but we can find ways to ease, to make easier. And I always say with healing, it isn't always that you're going to get the illness to disappear. But my goal is to just make things better, make them more livable. It's, as long as you feel well and are not suffering, I call that really, really good. And the last thing I want to just talk about is that all of this, we are physical creatures. We are not just spirits yet. So it really is a combination act. It's not one or the other. It's not only about the breath and the visualizing. And if you are ill, and God forbid you do need to take chemotherapy, it's really important to take your medicine and regard it as a healing. It's like we got to let these things work together. We shouldn't be in oppositions. Mr. Edwards always said spiritual healing and medical science should work hand in hand, since they both have the same goal, which is the healing of the sick. And so if you do have to take a medicine or you need an antibiotic, it's not a dirty word. Take it. But take it with the idea that it's good. It's not a poison. You're taking it to help you. Heat and cold are wonderful. Cold for headaches, ice packs, some of the old remedies, massage can be very useful. But the healing has to respond to the cause. And that's why I say keep your common sense. If you have a broken bone, you get the bone set. You can sit and meditate all you want, but in that case, I think you're better off to get the bone straightened out. And so always keep your common sense, but understand that with all of that, the light is powerful. And if you will work every day over the next month or so, you miss a few days here and there, but if you can try to work this into your schedule, I think that you will start to feel your vitality lift. You will start to be able to work with symptoms. And eventually you can then take it and direct it not just to yourself, but that's how any distant healing works, is the same kind of thing. You send the thought, you send the prayer, you send the visualization, and you let it go. And in the event that there's a wonderful response, we're delighted. And in the event that there isn't, we're less delighted. But there is so much that I have seen that's so remarkable that I know that it's always worth having this breath. I use it now, not just as a separate thing I do in the morning, but if I'm in traffic and I'm nervous and finding myself getting impatient, I just call it going back to basics, and I'm in cool, out warm, and I calm myself down. And actually, if I'm in the heat of a worry, it's the hardest thing to do. When you're upset, you just want to get on it and, to go over all the problems. But I once took a class with a very fascinating scientist named Bruce Lipton. Some of you may have heard of him. And he said to all of us, people, when you're nervous, your blood rushes to your extremities. It's part of the fight and flight response, so that when we sense danger or we feel ill at ease and get all worked up, he said the blood will go from your brain into your arms and legs so that you could fly, you could have flight. And he said to us, he goes, so you know what that means, people? He said, that means you get stupider. I've seen it now when I start getting nervous, I can't find something, and I start to get all upset.
Yeah.
How you trip yourself up. And so I call it meditation in action, but now I use it in the midst of I get upset, I'll say, okay, stop. First, accept the presence of God, that it's on your side, that the divine is here and will help you, and ask for help. And then just breathe, calm down, and slowly go about what you had to do. And when I'm able to control myself and get myself to follow that, usually I find what I'm looking for much more quickly. I solve the problem much. Sometimes, you look in your purse and it's actually in there and you just don't see it because you're so nervous and in such a hurry, you can't find it. So these kinds of things we're working with today and for this month will be of value to you. for health reasons, of physical health reasons, but mental health reasons, and in all ways. And I hope that you'll make it your own and find that it brings you peace at times and joy at times and better vitality. So if anybody has a question that they want to ask, I can stop the share screen so I can see more of you. That's kind of what I wanted to present in this first month. And then we'll meet again the first Monday in April to see what everybody's done with this and what comes up for you. Again, if you would like to take a notebook or journal, you can start at this point if you want, when you're doing your breathing and all of a sudden you realize, oh gosh, I'm thinking again. When you go back to breath, you can just jot down. It's called noting and jotting, and it's part of what's called mindfulness meditation. And you note down what it was, shopping, or need a new dress, or I said something wrong, because things just come up with us all the time. Jot it down. When we start working with it, you will see patterns. You know, we all have our top 10 or top 5 of the kind of things we work ourselves up with. And we want to be able to identify them so that we can start downloading or, you know, as Seth once said to us, you have to be your own hypnotist in your own subject. I mean, you can go running to Brian Weiss or many regressionists, and they can, take you into another life and you can deal with things. But according to my teacher, Seth, all that stuff is very conscious. Whatever you've brought into this life, whether it's guilt or fear from another life, it's right there. And as soon as you try to meditate, it's just like it's Monkey Mind's invitation to come out and go, oh, you're such a jerk. And so it's almost like what you think you're trying to do is get silent. But the next step of this meditation is to use when you're not silent. Excuse me, did someone want to say something? Dorothy had to put something in. I see people put things into chat. People had to go. So someone else was talking. Well, I hope, okay. So let us work on that for this month. If things come up that you find you want to jot down, that's fine. Just jot it down and put it aside, go back to your breath. And next month we'll find ways to work with the things that come up. But for this month, what I'd like you to do is get used to working with the gatekeeper and adding the visualization and the direction of energy through your own body. Because I have used this to help me with all kinds of symptoms. And we can do this for ourselves. And that's the beauty of it. We want to have something we can use when you wake up in the morning and one of those days where you just feel, I just immediately go right into it. And I breathe in the light and I send the light around me. And I, sometimes I'll say something positive to myself, but you can really change your perspective in just a 5-minute period. So learning this will be a tool that you'll have for years to come. So any of you that would like this particular meditation to play in your own home, email me that you want it and I'll send it back to you. So until you get used to doing it, you'll have me to guide you through it. And does anyone have a question or anything about any of what we're going to work on or anything they want to say or?
I have a question and a comment. I see you're recording this. Would the recording be available maybe on Facebook?
Well, I can make it available. If
maybe that would be the easiest rather than individual emailing. Well, I guess it could be either or.
Yeah, I just said, I want to send the MP3 to anybody that really wants it. And that's true. They could sit through it, but then this silly little Lily started barking.
Mine did too. And then yours started barking, but I was muted.
Right, but I was not. So, I think I would just send it to anyone who wants it. But eventually, yes, I am recording and eventually it'll probably be posted somewhere.
Yeah, and just a comment, for me, what stood out and was helping was just a little seed in the ground that needs light and time to sprout and blossom. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. I love that image. Also myself, my spirit team was talking to me through this little line I have, and they said, Sheri, they just laid it all out. And I thought, wow, that's a really clear image, because we do feel so cut off. And I think in physical reality, we go from the infinite to the individual. And now you're like born into this body, and you're given birth to, and you're in a baby's body. All you can do is cry if you need something. You can't even talk. So I think in a lot of ways, the human being feels separate, and it's scary. And we can get lonely even in a house full of people.
But actually, I had this thought and image in my mind. Oh my God, I could maybe write a little children's book with one of my grandsons, and he could illustrate it, because I talked to him a lot about, he used to be really joyful little boy, and now he's going through, he's 12, he's going through all kinds of, things that are not joyful. And I keep reminding him that he is one of the most joyful boys I have ever seen in my life, because he would just exude joy wherever he went.
It will come back. These are hard years. They're hard.
Yeah, and I thought, oh, maybe we can do this together. I never written a book, but I'm sure we can figure something out. So.
And it would be fun for him, to be part of it. It's a great idea. Well, is there anything I can answer or say to anyone, or should we just say have a wonderful month? Please work with it. Email me if you want my copy. And I will be opening up this room the first Monday of April. Let me take a look on the calendar, and we'll see what that falls on. So the first Monday in April, it's the 5th, which is Easter Monday. Is that going to be a problem for people?
Not for me.
Not for me either. We'll leave it that way. If problems arise, we can always do it again. But I really appreciate your participating, and I hope that you'll get something valuable from this. Please let me know.
Sheri, I'll put my email in the comments for you to send it to.
Okay, well, since I am recording this, at least I believe I am. I'll be able to go back and find everything too. So that's great. So, hi, Melissa. Everybody have a wonderful month. And my email, if there's anything I can help with, just drop me a line.
Okay, Sheri, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheri.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Sheri.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.